tacked up pieces of paper on all the telephone poles saying, need
Yeah,
toilet paper. Yeah.
Yeah, go to Everfresh.
Was it Everfresh?
Well, it's 641 Middle Neck, which is Everfresh.
Oh, God. Why would he do that? They know better than that.
I don't know if they did.
No, it's not Everfresh. I don't think it's Everfresh.
It's 641. That's Everfresh.
I don't think so.
Now we're live on YouTube.
No, 6:30. No, it's not Everfresh. It's closer. It's across from the park.
All right, just be careful. Whatever you say now is broadcast.
All right.
Got it.
You're live. By the way, Bart, we don't see you. You have to join with video. Now we see you. You're sitting in your car.
I am sitting in my car.
Is that?
Are you in trouble?
Yeah,
Got kicked out of the house.
If I was in trouble, I'd be I'd be in my car. When I'm in good standing, I'm in the doghouse. But
social distancing a little too far.
I have a daughter who flew in from Israel on Thursday. She's got the basement. She's quarantining there. I have my son's studying physics up on the top floor, and everybody else is on the middle floor. And I figured I'm just gonna go in my car.
Should have sat in your seat at Village Hall.
Yeah, I could have done that.
If you have someone coming from Israel, probably it's a better idea to stay home or in your car.
Yeah,
right,
we got her
for
on
1 second.
Everybody healthy, Louis?
Yeah, everybody's hanging in there.
All our guys are good?
Yeah, I've been
Were you
rotating the
able to do
crew
it?
now.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Passover garbage truck behind
Hold on 1 second.
the parking lot there in lot 3.
Oh, right. I don't think we should be doing
So
it.
you did it now?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think that a lot of garbage gets picked up on that day from people bringing it in.
So then I guess we could do it. Everybody just stays in their car, goes one at a time.
That's pretty much what they've been doing anyway.
Or sign in as guests.
Right.
I mean, I think it's a good way to get rid of the garbage.
Right. Hey, Peter.
How you doing, Bart?
Good.
Is it working?
So far, everyone in my immediate personal and business family is healthy. I hope it certainly stays that way.
Thank God.
Who just joined?
Nathaniel.
Hi, Abraham. How are you?
Good, everyone can hear you.
Is everything going well so far?
So far, so good.
Are you going to get it on YouTube soon? Is Brian working on that? Or?
I think Brian's working on it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube right now.
It is?
It says on my
Yeah,
screen.
I'm trying to find you
YouTube.
if you just join a meeting, I'm just going to find the, when did I send that? Yesterday? Yeah. Yeah, put any email address. But you should be able to just log in with this user, with this meeting ID.
Nathaniel, what do you see on the screen?
For YouTube or for Zoom?
On the Zoom.
For Zoom, you're at? For Zoom, just the agenda.
Okay.
How do we get back to the gallery view? Ah, there we go.
What do you see, Peter?
No, you should.
Right now I see the gallery. I see 6 different people, including myself.
How do you see that? How do you get to that?
One of the buttons is on your screen says gallery, and then you can see everybody at the same time.
I see. You just flash it over. See 4 people.
Abraham, should commenting be on for YouTube?
Nope.
No? Okay.
So you're here. Where am I? Just talk. You're not. You're unmuted.
Brian?
Hi, it's Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hey
Hey,
guys,
Karen.
I'm
Brian?
just trying to help Steve get on.
This is so funny.
Yeah,
Brian?
yeah.
No, how do I put my picture on?
Don't we have two hosts?
You don't have the picture.
We do, but for some reason, like the other day when we were doing it, both of the hosts worked at the same time. For some reason, it's not working right now.
Are we logging in with the same?
That's the number I just sent to you.
Are we logging in this with the same password? Is that
I'm
what?
sorry. Go ahead, Abraham.
Are we logging in with the same login and password?
Wait, you're breaking up. What did you say?
Bart, you are on mute, so no one can hear you. I'm saying that.
Okay,
Are we
now I'm
logging
back.
in? Okay, yes. Are we
Okay,
logging in with the same logging and password, and that's why we can't hear? We can't have two hosts.
No, we have two. We both have different usernames and passwords.
So I'm logged in with my own username and password. I just don't know why it can't be a host.
Well, see if you could share your screen.
I did, yeah. Before I did.
All right, now we
I
got
can
Steve
do it
too.
again if you want.
Hey, Steve.
I'm afraid, Abraham, if I log out, that I'm gonna lose the YouTube connection as host.
Don't log out then. Are you?
Yeah, that's
Steve's
what I'm
on
afraid
mute.
of for now.
So this is what I'm sharing now. This is the agenda.
We want Steve on mute.
This
Oh,
is
okay.
the agenda, but on the side you could be
Yep.
you should be able to see everybody anyway.
No, well,
If you show
my
group video.
my big
Is
screen.
anybody using a phone aside from me?
I think everybody is, I believe.
I'm using an iPad.
So I'm using a phone, so you don't get the entire gallery. You just get.
Yeah, I'm
you get,
using my iPhone.
Yeah, you get.
Hey,
I
Louis.
get 4 at a time.
Hey,
Yeah, I got 4 people too.
I can only see
4,
four.
and then you swipe. There's 4 more. We're missing the mayor and the other trustees. So
I see Annie.
I don't know if Norman's gonna know how to do this.
No.
I believe he will be absent tonight.
Annie. All right. Annie is a silhouette figure,
Annie should
no
be coming
visual
on.
yet. Yeah, but
I
Annie
don't
shows
see it.
up as a
Admitting people.
silhouette.
I don't see Karen. I see his muted thing, and just
Karen is on.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
now I
yeah,
hear you.
you have to hit the video button, Karen.
Okay.
All right, the mayor's calling me.
Steve
Hi, Mayor.
Hope is having a hard time dialing in.
You don't dial in. You just click on the link.
He's having a hard time clicking on it.
It's okay. There's lots of people logging in here. So I have to admit everybody one at a time. So.
Louis.
And we are live,
Don't
people.
see you, Mayor.
We are live.
I don't see you yet.
You're not listening to me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
There
Okay,
he
here's
is.
the mayor.
Oh, hi, Mayor.
There.
Lou, what are you eating, Lou?
It looks very good.
Chicken sandwich.
Chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
Look at you.
I'd let you have a bite, but you're too far away.
Aren't you special?
No, you're unmuted now.
Okay, Mayor, I unmuted you.
Did you see me, Brian?
Yes, we can see you. I can see you at least.
Okay. Right.
No, they're right there.
I see Peter, I see you, I see Abraham, I see Louis, Bart, Steve, Karen, and David. Yes, that's okay. I guess that's it. Is
And
Annie?
Annie. Yeah,
Annie is
Annie and, yeah, I'm there.
I see.
Well, not my picture,
Not by picture. Okay, fine.
right.
Okay, Nathaniel's there as well. I don't know who 946977 is.
697, isn't that Steve Hope?
Yeah,
I'm
maybe-
9777.
Steve, that's you, right? 977. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, and this is being broadcasted on YouTube live.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But
So
just voices.
I'm sorry, Mayor, before you start, Brian, can you mute everyone but the board, please?
So everybody knows there's a function if you want to say something that where on the bottom of your screen where you can raise your hand. There's an option if you want to make a comment and you are muted, or you can also chat and you can pick my name or Abraham's name and you can send us a message that way also.
I don't see that button that you're talking about.
Me neither.
Maybe I gotta put it all the way to one side to.
So no, if you look at the bottom of the page, there is usually 3 dots that it says more. If you click on that more or you press that, it'll give you option to chat privately with either Brian or myself. Also, it will allow you to quote unquote raise hand. Then we could see it on the participant list that you have a question. Then we can invite you to speak.
well, I don't see that either.
There's a chat window. It says chat. There's a little box on the lower menu choices. It has like a little bubble and that says chat. And if you click on chat, you could actually type something in that area. I don't see the hand raising, but I do see the ability to type in for like a question or a message.
Annie, they're looking for the mute and unmute button. If you tap on your screen on the bottom left is a microphone icon, and you can tap on that. It says unmute or mute. So if you want to speak,
in order
you tap
to
on
do that
unmute.
just quickly, you guys hear me? I think if you just tap on your picture, it gives you that ability.
Option. Correct.
Yeah. So you have to tap on that option on your picture first, and then you can go ahead and do that. Right, and then it gives you the raise your hand, hide my video, and all that stuff. Okay. Is everybody okay to start?
Yes.
Annie?
Yep.
Bart?
I'm here.
Steve? Okay.
I'm here. Yeah.
So I don't think, unfortunately, we can't do the Pledge of Allegiance. I think this is the first time in history of Village of Great Neck that we are having a Zoom meeting. First, I want to wish everyone well. I hope everyone's healthy and keeping away and staying home as often, as much as possible. I know this has hit us in a very difficult and tragic way in New York. I'm hoping that our village is spared, at least the number of fatalities that we see in other places. I have seen the trend in the past couple of days. I think we are plateauing. I hope we don't see a huge number of cases tomorrow, the next day. Past couple of days, the numbers pretty much have stayed the same in this area. I'm hoping that that's going to be the case as we really have cracked down on social gatherings, and we're really encouraging social distancing. I will have a meeting with the Department of Health of Nassau County tomorrow, and I'm with the president, and I'm hoping that we can get some new ideas of how we can implement more to prevent the spread of this virus. With that said, again, I want to thank everyone for what they're doing. Abraham for working very hard and doing all he does, and Karen, Brian, and my board, and Louis, of course, with having his team with dealing with the situation. Steve, for making sure that no one's really working in the village unless they are actually absolutely needed. So if there's no other comments from the member of the board, we can start with the building department report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board. As you can see submitted, I attached to the building department report the executive order from the governor, which was issued late on Friday, March 27th, that the governor released an executive order 202.11 that brings enforcement to the local level, that all construction job sites are shut down unless essential, which basically is an emergency. And we are allowing for one worker to be on a site if need be. We are trying to keep all sites closed. I applaud the public that has called us or emailed us to let us know that certain job sites were going on. And I have to say that I give a lot of credit to Dennis going out, closing down these jobs. Myself, Jackie's been manning the phones, Sheila from home. Everybody has pitched in to make sure that this is being taken very serious, and I appreciate all the hard work from the building department. With that being said, please, if anybody has any concerns of any work going on that shouldn't be performed, that's not an emergency, please notify the village. We are all able to be in contact through the regular phone number, and if not, it will call forward to our cell phones. And please be safe and try to keep your social distancing. Last month, the building department conducted 91 inspections. We received 34 complaints that were all acted on. As far as you can see, the rest of the building department monthly fees are up on to be viewed. If there's any questions or concerns, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer.
What kind of complaints were you getting?
We've been getting some complaints of work being done early. We've been getting complaints of sidewalk tripping hazards. We've been getting complaints of some leaves that weren't raked or some debris that's going out into the street. So we've been handling all those kind of nuisance calls, as we call them, and letters of notice of violations have been sent out, and everything has been addressed.
Gotcha. Thank you.
That's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Louis? Hello?
Hello?
Is Louis
All right,
on?
hold on. Maybe he's muted. He should be on. Let me unmute him again.
Yeah, he is muted.
Yeah, now I'm on.
Okay,
Yeah,
one
I was
second.
muted.
There we go.
Okay, Louis, you're up. Any report?
I don't really have anything to add on the report. The one thing I have noticed in the last week or so is a lot of these gloves, these disposable gloves around on the sidewalks and in parking lots. I still have the sweeper going out on Mondays and Fridays. We're trying to clean them up as the sweeper is picking them up. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, how long do you want me to keep the banners up? And the other thing is that comes into question is putting the garbage truck for Passover in lot number 3.
Right. So all good questions. One thing I wanted to ask, and I don't know if the board wants to opine on this. I have been getting a lot of complaints about these gloves and masks. Unfortunately, people don't know how to dispose of them. And I know they don't want to take these possible infected masks or gloves into their cars, so they just take it off and throw it on the floor. Uh, I don't know what the answer is. I think people need to know how to use gloves. Obviously, the healthcare providers, we take gloves on, we put them on and we take them off all the time, and we know what to do not to contaminate ourselves. But if we can ask people, I don't know if we can put signs to not discard the gloves and mask on the street. I'm sure we have enough garbage bins around, or maybe they can put it in a Ziploc bag or a paper bag or some kind of a bag, and when they get home, they just can discard of it. I think it's going to be appreciated by everybody in the village.
Maybe we could put something on the website, Mayor, to discard the gloves in the proper receptacles.
Okay. Karen, I know you're listening. If you can please just put something on the website as far as how to discard the gloves. I think there are even videos on how it can be done without getting themselves contaminated. Maybe we can put one of those videos on our websites as well. As far as the banners, I don't know how many days is it that they're on. I was planning to keep them on for about 2 weeks, maybe about 17 days since we put them on. Is it 17 days yet?
I don't know
All
how
right, just
long.
if it's 17 days or something, I think we can take them out. Unfortunately, we went through a whole deal of preparing them, and we thought.
I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, there's no other banners to hang there, so it's
I
not.
know. You know what? Let's keep it on for another week or so, and then we can take it off before Passover, or maybe right after Passover. It's not really a big deal. Just I was hoping that it's going to be a much happier spring. Well, we got hit by this virus. As far as the truck, people have called. They're asking for the truck. Louis, I want to ask you if the person who's going to be there, you may have to have 2 people on that day, just to make sure that people that go there stay in the car and not gather around the truck. They must keep their social distancing of 6 to 10 feet. Before they get close to the truck, they can just discard everything, throw everything in the garbage truck and leave. If we can enforce that, I would like to continue having our yearly custom of having this truck available for people to be able to discard, especially now that everyone's pretty much on a lockdown. It's a lot more difficult to do. So it would be greatly appreciated by the community to have this truck available.
I think my suggestion would be to put the truck there. I keep the 2 guys there with the gloves and a mask each on, and do as we've always done in the past. For the most part, most of the people just pulled up and popped open the hatch or their trunk, and we just grabbed the bags and threw them in the back of the truck.
But I did leave.
You know, that truck picks up a lot of garbage. Believe it or not, a lot of cars come through there to throw the garbage out. So I think it's something that the neighborhood warrants.
Right, definitely needs to be done. The other thing I wanted to let you know, I left some masks for the people that are working in DPW in the village hall. I think it's extremely important, especially for those people who are coming in contact with other people or come close, to have their masks on all the time. Please make sure that they know how to use it properly, and that they pinch the nose and make sure that there's air and it's sealed, so there's no air going in and out from above the where the nose piece is. I'm sure they can do that, and then if they all, they keep that, hopefully we can keep them safe as well. Okay.
Thank you.
The board has anything to add to this?
No.
I believe Trustee Sobel has a question if the gloves can damage the street sweepers.
No, they just get vacuumed up they just get vacuumed all up.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I don't know who's listening, but if there are people listening, please make sure that people do not throw your masks and your gloves in the street. It's really not a nice thing to do. You are making the village, and not only our village, the entire peninsula, look really ugly and dirty. And we have enough garbage bins around that can you can throw the gloves in them. Okay. Obviously, we don't have any old business. If there's nobody else who wants to talk about this, okay, I hear none. Abraham, you're up for the budget hearing.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. We have this is basically an overview of the general fund, of the appropriations and the revenue for the village. Excuse me, I'm just looking to see from year to year where we stand here, because I have to deal with two different monitors here. So last year, the general government support was making about 19.6% of the total budget. This year is only it's just 1% more than that, at 20.6%. The fire and ambulance are staying the same. One of the items actually tonight on the agenda is the ambulance contract, that we'll get to it. The building department and public safety would remain the same. The street cleaning has gone up by just 0.5% to 12.2 from 11.9. Economic assistant is almost the same, as well as the environmental and sanitation and the employee benefit. The debt service has gone down by 2%, a little over 2%. That's because we have paid off one of the bonds that we had. As for the revenue, the property taxes, the mayor has shown an interest to keep the rate, the taxes the same as last year, and possibly maybe reducing it by a few percentages, just because of what's going on. As far as the other taxes are concerned, we are expecting to get more than last year. Last year it was budgeted at 2%. This year is at 4%. Fees and fines and miscellaneous last year was at 13%. This year is at 10%, 9.9. I will get to the reason why this has been reduced. Interest and rent, I have increased that just because we are collecting rent on the 2 parking lots that we have in the village that are currently rented out. The state aid should remain the same, as well as the state aid should remain the same. However, the appropriated reserve that we are going to use, that is something that has to be discussed, further discussed. As you can see on the screen here, we have the appropriations, which is $10,147,260. This is almost the same as last year. The only difference is just 1% that is different. The fiscal year non-tax revenues should be at $1,877,000. The sewer debt retirement, as we are getting closer to retirement of the sewer debt, which is in 2 years, the amount of the reimbursement to the village will be lower and lower. This year, it's budgeted at $36,624. That will leave us to the unrestricted fund balance, which is last year it was about $300,000 less, and this year it has been raised to $927,720. That leaves the village with $7.3 million of tax levy that has to be raised. Allocation of the tax.
That has to be collected.
Correct. The tax levy to be collected. Yes. The allocation of the tax levy is not finalized. These are the last year numbers. And the reason for it is year over year, we have had this budget after April 1st. And this is probably one of the first years that we have had it before April 1st. The significance of April 1st is the final assessment roll will be ready tomorrow, and I don't have the breakdown of the base proportions. So the allocations of the base proportions are basically from last year, so I can't add anything to that. Because we don't have the base proportions, we don't have the exact tax percentages yet. However,
I'm sorry, Abraham, the base proportions are going to given to you by the county?
no, it's going to be given to us by the our assessors.
Okay.
I requested it. It should be ready by the end of the week. As far as the taxable value of the village, in just a moment, I'll get to that. I'm just sorry. I'm looking at the other screen to pull that up. Okay. So the average homestead assessed value last year was 945,377. This year there is a slight increase to 946,781, which is a very small percentage raise. Now, this year is one of the first years in the past at least 5 or 6 years that the value of the houses remained the same. It did not go up or it did not go down. The assessment only was changed for the properties that had improvements or they were newly constructed dwellings. The amount of the average homestead assessed value this year is $946,781. And the taxable value was just 0.15%. It's very small increase, and it's relates to new constructions or homes with improvements. Other than that, the reason that nobody received any updated assessment letter is just because the assessment values remain the same as last year. At the bottom of the page, you will see the taxes, the pilots or payments in lieu of taxes. Here, as year over year, the PSEG only gives us 2% over what they gave last year, so that should be 49,880. The Avalon payment that should come in is a little under $40,000. This is the tentative budget. I'm sorry, this is a tentative budget. I'm just going to point out just a few differences that we have, large differences. On the first line, on the first box, or the legislative box, the only difference is the $300 added to the Manhasset Bin Coalition. That's because they requested it and the board approved it. This is something that they requested a few months ago, and it went to all the villages, and that's why there is a raise in that. The personal service on the judicial, that's basically being adjusted for the COLA. And the equipment has been raised by $7,500. That is a request by the court to buy new ticket guns, because the ones that we have right now, they are kind of outdated and they would like a new one. We do have more enforcement because currently we have 2 full-timers. Therefore, the printing and supplies will be more used. Therefore, there is a raise of $3,500 in that. For the consultant at the judicial, that's the percentage that our outside consultant gets for processing our tickets. Given that we are getting more revenue from this department, their share as well will go up. This is a 33% that FBS gets, and that's why there's a raise of $5,000 in there. As we go down, we have the parking violation. It's been adjusted for COLA. That's a $16,000 different, as well as the $30,000 that is put for equipment. The equipment, it's the new car that they need. This is something that the board can decide whether to spend it out of the general fund, or it can be spent from the capital fund that we raised the bonds 2 years ago. That can.
I thought that equipment was for DPW equipment.
This line has to do with the parking. No, I'm not sure if there's a restriction on spending that money. It does not say it's only for DPW. It says for equipment, but it does not specify that the court or parking violation can't use it. As the request for an extra car, the gas and grease and oil has been increased also by $1,500, which is a nominal amount. We go to the next page. On the clerk treasurer side, there is a decrease in the amount of the personal service as new employees they have a different salary schedule. The printing and supplies is also reduced by $2,000. However, I have increased the miscellaneous here by $12,000, and that's because as we are going along, I'm discovering more liens that at some point they were redeemed, but they were not paid out to the lien holders. And unfortunately, we have to cover this is something that unfortunately it hasn't been, previous to my arrival here, hasn't been reported properly. So the interest keeps accruing and we have to pay it. So that expenses has to be paid from the miscellaneous line from the clerk treasurer's office.
So can you explain that? Is it we have about this lien? We are holding, we're taking over the liens?
I can prior to 2013, we used to sell the liens. Starting 2013, we kept it. Now, when you sell a lien, we become middleman. The village becomes middleman. We have, for example, lien on that's just an example. We have a lien on 61 Baker Hill Road, and somebody just buys it, and the person, we get the money at the time of sale, and we book it. Now, 5 years down the road, the owner of 61 Baker Hill comes and pays the village. The village, in return, has to return the money to the buyer of the lien, to the lien holder. Unfortunately, prior to 2012, I'm discovering that we have had some liens that had been redeemed by the property owners, and we collected the money, but it was never turned over to the lien holder.
Oh.
Now we are getting the lien holders after 10 years coming and saying, I'm going to foreclose on the house. When they come to us, I have to check in the system, and now I notice that this has been redeemed. That's why, but unfortunately, the clock does not stop for paying the lien holder interest. So that $12,000 it's put there is just to cope with that expense.
Okay.
There are some nominal changes here that I'm not going to take the time. I'm going to the bottom of the page, the law staff. It has been raised by 13% or $20,000. That's just because we have a lawsuit that is still going on, as well as just the general rate has gone up. So that has been raised by $20,000. There are no major changes on this page of the budget. Almost everything is as prior year. The only difference is on the central garage, there is on the central garage, there is on the personal services, under the overtime, there's a $5,000 increase on the overtime. And the reason for it is as the equipment gets older, they require more mechanic time to fix them. And sometimes the mechanic stays late to take care of it. Therefore, the overtime amount has been increased just to accommodate if the mechanic needs to stay late to fix it.
Which page are you on now?
I am on page 3.
Right.
If you look
the
at
one.
central garage, you will see under overtime,
All right, I'll do it.
the amount has been raised
Last-
from 15 to
right.
20.
Okay.
The next page is the data processing. As you could see, there's a major increase in their data processing. Data processing is our IT vendor that I'm not sure if they are listening, but if they are, I'd like to really thank them for what they've done for us in the past couple weeks. They have enabled us to work from home. For the employees that they had the ability to log in. I know few employees had taken advantage of it. Myself also, for the one day that I work from home, the other day I've been here. It's been a major help. And the IT services is not cheap, unfortunately, and therefore the major increase, which is about a 50% increase, but I can attest that every dollar that we spend has been paid off for whatever we have spent for it. Overall, there is $116,000 increase in the amount of the general government support, which is about 6%. On the next page, you will see the public safety. The only difference on this page is the amount of the hydrant rental under the fire protection. It used to be that they charged us $120 per hydrant for 228 hydrants that we have in the village. They raised it by 10% to $132. Hence the $15,000 increase to accommodate the increase in the amount of the rental. And the next budget line, you will see the safety inspection. And the only major change in there is the equipment. That's a request by the building department to obtain a new vehicle as they do their inspections. And with it comes $1,700 raise in the gas, just because we have an extra vehicle that is going to be used. Overall, for the public safety, there's a 3% increase. Under the public health, there is no different except for the $10,000 increases in the ambulance contract, as you will see later tonight, the ambulance contract. As for the street administration, there is some increases to accommodate COLA, which is a cost of living adjustment. Next page, you will see the street maintenance as well. Again, there are some adjustments for COLA, and the repair to equipment also has been raised by $5,000. The reason for it is as the equipment gets older, the parts become more expensive to replace. That's why there was a request by the DPW superintendent to raise the repairs to the equipment amount. As you could see, it was raised from 50,000 to the 55,000. As for the permanent improvements, it's all the same. There's no difference. On the street lights, I have decreased the amount of the energy and pole rental from $45,000 to $40,000 as we are getting less and less, using less and less energy. However, the maintenance of it, I have raised it by $5,000. The reason is last year we had a $25,000 expenses, and this year so far it has been close to that amount. This is not because the lights are failing. This is because somebody just drives into the poles, they destroy the poles. We don't get a report a few months down the road. By the time that we want to fix it, it costs the village to fix it. Overall, the street lights amount should remain the same, just because there's an increase in maintenance of it, however, decrease in the energy and energy use. I lost my page, so please bear with me. Okay, I believe you are on this page. For the off-street parking, everything remains the same, as well as everything on this page, which remains the same. The following page is a refuse and garbage line on the budget. There has been an increase for the COLA adjustment that has to be further discussed. There is a repairs to the equipment as well as the repairs, tires and battery increased by 16,500. This goes back to the point that the equipments are getting older and they need more maintenance. The tipping fee, as keeping as prior years, year over year, it has increased by about 2%, and that's the $10,000 increase into that value. By the request of the DPW superintendent, there is a $5,000 increase in the purchase of the trees. As my understanding is, he will be planting more trees this year. Following page shows,
Abraham, just quickly on the planting of the trees, the money is coming from the general fund or from the community benefit fund?
from the general fund. Park fund is restricted to
Right,
parks and
but
recreation.
why not community benefit funds?
The community benefit is something that benefits the community as a whole. That's, for example, the lights that everybody enjoys, rather than maybe a tree that is planted in a certain street.
Peter, can you opine on that, please?
Well, I would prefer to give legal advice in executive session, but I think that's a discussion that Abraham and I could have that I think would move you in the direction you want.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
The following page, you will see the benefit lines. Almost everything stayed the same. The only difference is the disability insurance, and the disability insurance is, as last year, the board agreed to enhance this short-term insurance that has been very useful to the employees, and there's just a cost associated with it, about $5,000 that has been raised. Other than that, everything else stays the same. The optical plan as well has been raised by $500 because the amount of reimbursement last year the board approved to go up, hence the difference.
Abraham, I think Annie had a comment or a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a question. How many liens are there? Like how many outstanding liens are we talking about?
If you hold on one moment, I can pull up my information here. The number of the tax liens that I have, it's just pulling up. If you give me one moment, please. This goes back to 2011, and I have 89 tax liens.
Wow.
Yes.
And I mean, if we were to pay all of them off, how much would that be?
Oh, so here is the issue. Starting in 2012, actually, the village held all our liens. So we are talking about maybe a handful or maybe a maximum of 15 liens that are held by third party that the village has lost track of. But since 2013, 2012, everything has been kept in-house. And as the houses go to the market to be sold, these liens comes up, or the lien holders getting older, they come over, they want to cash on their investment. So I was hoping that we don't get that many, but if I have to, a good estimate of it will be 15 liens that are still outstanding that we don't have, maybe 15 that the village over time has lost track of. The rest is something that the village holds. And one of the things that I would like to do this year going forward is to be more, not aggressive, but to send reminders to property owners that there is a lien on their property, and if they want to redeem the liens, they can come to the village hall. This page, you have all the revenues for the tentative budget. Just on my other screen, I have to bring it up. The property taxes, as I mentioned, it remained the same. However, it's up for discussion for the board if they would like to most likely decrease it. And then the property taxes for the prior year, as I mentioned, I would like to send out notices to the property owners. And what I have noticed is as we let the property owners know there's a lien on the house, they actually come out and they pay it. So I have increased the amount of the prior year real estate property taxes that we will get by 15,000, and I'm hoping to raise that. The pilot amount stays at 88,939. There's a large difference to it. That's because of the calculation of Avalon from last year to this year. The village assumption was that we are getting a proportionate amount from the county based on their assessment. However, they are not using their assessment. They are using our assessment, and we are trying to fix that. I have an advice from prior clerk that we should put assessment the same as county. So if we actually put the same assessment as a county, then we should be getting our fair share in the amount that they will be paying us. Interest and penalties will go down because more and more people are paying on time the taxes, at least in the past couple years. I'm not sure, hopefully this trend stay the same this year with what's going on. Because of that, I have reduced the income for the interest and penalties to $30,000 rather than $35,000. Other than this, what I mentioned, there is no other changes, major changes in anything on this page. In the following page, there is a new line item for the rental of the parking lots that I have added. I have to mention that the $63,000 for the rental of the parking lots it's a conservative number just because we don't know how much longer the licensee will remain in the lot. It might be higher than what we have collected. It might be almost the same, but just to be on the conservative side, this is the amount that has been budgeted. The line that has decreased is the taxi licenses because we are at the era of Uber. The number of the taxis in the village has gone down dramatically. So I have reduced the amount of the income that will come from the taxi licenses to $2,000. The next item that has been decreased is the sign permit. The sign permits, as you know, they are not coming up so often. What's on the budget in the prior years has been $10,000 every other year, and the reason for it is there is a code in the village code. There is a law that every 2 years they have to recertify. However, there has been a moratorium on it for the past few years. Therefore, we are not collecting the sign permits. Therefore, it will be not prudent to leave it at 10,000, rather to be a more realistic number. Therefore, it's been decreased to $2,000.
Abraham,
Yes.
your screen is, can you stop sharing your screen and then share it again? Because it's coming up a little bit blurred, please.
Is it any better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next number that has been decreased is the amount of the fines and forfeited bail. It's been decreased to $420,000 because this is basically a more realistic number. On average, we are collecting $30,000 a month, and I am suggesting that maybe it's time to put another. We should talk to our vendor to. I'm sorry, I'm at the lost of word for when you request people to amnesty program to put another amnesty program for people that have outstanding fines, come and pay for it. And I'm hoping that the difference, what will come in, the $60,000 difference from last year to this year, first of all, is to allow the number to be more realistic. And also we might get some income if the board decides to put another amnesty program for the money to come in and for the people to come and pay without increase. If I'm not mistaken, a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, there was an amnesty program for 50% less than what they owe, and many people took advantage of it. So that's something that the board can reconsider this year as well. Other line item, there's not much difference here. In the next page, the amount of the mortgage tax has been decreased by $20,000. That's just because of what's going on currently in the market. We are stagnant. I'm afraid that in the next at least 6 months, the real estate market will be not as active as it has been in the past few years. So just to come up with a more realistic number, that number has decreased to $180,000. As you can see at the bottom of the page, the fund balances are, last year they were budgeted to use $660,000 of the appropriated fund balance. This year, to come up with the difference, I'm proposing $927,000. That will get us to the $10,147,260. As for the fund balances that is available, last year in 2018, actually 2 years ago, the fund balances was $6,572,000. The operating expenses per books were $9.1 million, and operating revenue per book was almost $9.9 million. We ended the 2019 per book by $720,000 of surplus. I keep saying per book because when we look at financials, the numbers are slightly different. As you could see, I'm going to get to it in the next set of numbers, just because it's adjusted for few differences. So overall, the 2019 fiscal year, which ended on May 31st, 2019, had a book surplus of $720,000. Out of that amount, the village, there was a purchase of land with the legal fees. It came out to be $168,500. There is a GASB 73 that now villages and local government have to adhere to. That causes the financials, in my opinion, to be a little bit misleading. However, the accounting board decided to put that there to be more open about it and to show that the expenses for the LOSAP should be incorporated in the sponsoring body. Now, GASB 73 has to do with the LOSAP. I'm not sure if the board is familiar with the LOSAP. LOSAP stands for Length of Service Award Program. That has to do with volunteer firefighters that they work for the village. There is a trust fund that is set up, and every year the village has to contribute to that amount. Per GASB 73, which is that's the accounting standard, they require us to now put the net difference of the revenue and expenses in our financials. So the 720 has to be adjusted for $37,000 of expenses, net expenses from the LoSAP. There is a net effect of accruals of 83,000. The accumulated adjustment is $288,000, and per financials, the operating surplus goes to 432,563, and the fund balance per financials will be 7 million, little over $7 million. Now, that number is misleading because $977,000 of it is not even in the village's name. It's sitting in the trust fund in the LoSAP program. But according to GASB 73, we still have to report it in our financials. So the more accurate adjusted fund balance would be the 7 million less 977,000. That gives the village a little over $6 million of fund balances. The estimated operating expenses and operating revenues are listed. I'm expecting that we finish the year with a surplus of about 120,000, and the projected fund balance would be about $6,150,000. This is the balance of the reserve fund. The capital fund had a expenditure of $390,000 that was spent for piece of equipment for the DPW, as well as fixing the roads. There was no other income or expenses other than interest in any of the fund except for the debt service fund, which was paid for the debt service. Excuse me. The Park Trust Fund had a $37,000 from two subdivision income, and it ended at 802. Now the Community Benefit Fund had $177,000 income to it. There was no distribution from it, and assigned sewer plant debt retirement is at $265,000. Just want to mention that the special reserve at the top of the page are restricted. The general fund reserve at the bottom of the page, the community benefit fund is assigned, is not restricted. However, and the assigned for sewer plant debt retirement is assigned. It's not restricted. There's a difference.
Abraham,
Yes.
I think, Mayor, do you have something that you want to?
No, I
add
just
or
wanted to
comment?
unmute myself.
Oh, okay.
This page, you could see the debt service fund, as we are getting some it went down. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. If I can please, just a moment on the expenses. I'm sorry, I skipped this point. If you look at page 9, or if you can see on your screens, the debt service fund actually went down. Last year it was 1.4 million. This year is at 1.3 million. I'm sorry, last year was 1.5 million. This one is at 1.3 million. The reason for the change is the retirement of one of the
bonds.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for it to tell you exactly which one, but it doesn't matter. Okay.
Could you just, you mentioned something about the community benefit fund. There was $177,000 that went to it. And what is, how much do we have currently at the community benefit fund?
As of the end of February, there's a typo by the way at the top of the page. It should say 2/29/2020. At the end of the February, we had 615,000.
Okay.
In the park fund, we had a little over 800,000. here is the schedule for the debt service. As I mentioned, the amount of the debt service has decreased from 1.5 to $1.3 million for the retirement of the debt. The board has shown interest that they might want to pay off some of the bonds early. There is a 2008 and 2009 bonds that they have the highest interest rate. They are currently, that's something that the board might want to reconsider to pay them off. By paying them off, I can, basically the way it works is you have to wait till it becomes callable. The way that it becomes callable is usually it's 8 years after they were issued. So if you look at 2008, they became callable in 2016. Now, callable means we can tell the buyer of the instrument that we are paying the debt off, and therefore they are not going to receive any more interest payments. If the board wishes to do so, in the 2008 bond, it will save over the next 4 years $46,000 of interest. And if the board wishes to retire the 2009 public improvement bond, it will save over the next 5 years a total of $53,000.
So overall, in the next 5 years, we can say that it's a saving of about $110,000.
It will be, yes, it will be a total of about 100,000, about 100,000, about 100,000. However, this means that if you want to pay that amount off, you have to pay off almost $1.2 million in debt in this year. If you want to save the 100,000, you have to, the amount of the debt that has to be retired is $1,160,000.
Uh-huh.
And this one you could see.
Abraham, what's the payment on those bonds per year, including the interest? I mean,
so for example, in the 2008 public improvement bond, in 2021, the principal is 135,000 and the interest is 20,000. On the 2009, the principal is 110,000 and the interest is 18,000. So the interest, as you know, it goes down year to year.
True.
So I'm not sure if I answered the question.
No, no, you did. So that's going to be about 120. You said about that we have. Okay, got it. That we have to pay a year to pay off the bond. Oh, no, that's fine.
Correct.
You answered my question.
Correct. So this year has been budgeted 1.336 to be paid off. Next year, if the board does not change and does not pay off any of the bonds, next year it will go down to 1.2 million. It will remain the same in 2023 at 1.2 million, and then it will go down to 1 million in 2024. This is assuming that the village does not get any new bonds, but we are certainly on the scale that we are going down in the amount of the money that the village spent on repayment of the bonds, including interest.
Good.
This schedule shows the statement of debt, and as well as this is basically what is left in principal for every single bonds that has been issued, including the retirement. If you have any questions, as you could see, the 2008 and 2009, those are the one that I mentioned. They have the highest interest rate. I did not mention 2002 because that's the EFC bond. Even though that it seems like we are paying 6% on it, However, we are getting a rebate. So that's why I did not mention the 2002. It's correct that it
What is
shows
the EFC bond?
environmental.
Facilities Corporation.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
They have to do with the sewer plant that the village used to own.
Got it. Okay.
2014.
So that's the bond for the super. Okay.
Correct. Any questions? I did not add, unfortunately, under the circumstances that we are operating now with being short-staffed, as well as the working remotely for some of the employees. There are a couple of schedules that are missing, which upon completion, it will be posted. I want to take this opportunity also for all the villages employees that are listening. I would like to thank them. It's been a very hard couple 3 weeks, both for them and for the board and for myself, to manage how to balance everything. And I really would like to thank every one of them, how they have been helpful, how they came with the new ideas and their willingness to put themselves and they make themselves available in the village hall to serve the public. I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to you, all of you. Thank you. There you
Abraham,
go. Yes.
Abraham, we have a question from Annie. About what is the difference between all the public improvement bonds?
So we borrowed money year over year. So if I could go, so for example, in 2007, it was borrowed. In 2008, it was borrowed. These are just basically the differences, the different in the year that it was borrowed. From 2013 through 2018, there was no bond issued. So it just, there's no difference. It's what was available in the market, and the rates vary based on when it was actually purchased, issued, depending on the year. So that's the only difference.
Right, but if we're not using it, then I guess the question is, why don't we just pay it back so we don't have any interest payments?
That
I mean,
we can discuss that in a budget meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board members? I don't hear any. Okay.
Peter, would you like to open it for the public hearing, please?
Certainly, Mayor. I believe if the board has no further questions, that concludes the budget presentation. At this point, however, it would be appropriate to open up a public hearing. So is there a motion to open up a public hearing on the budget and thereafter take input from the citizens? Does the trustee wish to move that item?
I move.
The mayor moves to open a public hearing. Is there a second trustee to second that motion?
I see a thumbs up from Bart.
Yes.
Okay, I would suggest therefore a roll call vote on the motion to open up a public hearing. Trustee Sobel?
Brian, maybe you want to
Waiting for
unmute
an
them?
aye.
I don't know if they're muted.
Okay, Bart, you're unmuted.
No, it doesn't look like. Oh, no. Yeah,
Trustee
yeah.
Sobel?
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you
Aye.
vote aye on the motion?
yes, I do.
Trustee Hope?
Aye.
Trustee
Can you hear me?
Mendelson?
Aye.
Yes,
Okay.
and
So you
Mayor.
have 4.
And I understand that Trustee Damdar is not present, correct?
Absent.
Okay, so then we have a satisfactory vote and the public hearing is now open.
We have David Zellinger would like to make a comment. Let me just unmute him.
Hello.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Brun. Abraham, that was an excellent presentation and thorough and comprehensive. And it helps, I guess, that you're an accountant. I only wish that the entire, all the stuff that you had on had been previously posted. I had 6 questions, but you answered one already. So my second question is on page 3. And I was curious about the money for judgments. What is that about?
Page 3. Sure, let me get to that page. Judgments.
I thought it was page 3. That's what I wrote down before.
Judgments and claims.
Yeah, correct, exactly.
So this is if the village gets sued by basically anybody, that is a safety net that we have in the budget, that if you have to pay, we have the budget line to pay for it, as well as all the scars, which are the small claims.
Yes.
Would you like me to explain what the scars are?
Sure, go ahead. So not everybody understands it.
So the scars are basically a small claim. For example, somebody comes and they challenge that assessment and it gets denied. They can go to the next court up, and they basically they take the judgment there, and then the judge orders the village to pay the difference between what they paid and what they should have paid. That amounts also get booked to this judgment and claims, because that is a claim against the village. So
thank you. I get it. Now I have 2 questions on page. Let me just, I'm using another device to scroll up. So I think it's page 7. Yeah. And at the bottom of the page, where you have general environment, there's consultants, both to the BZA and to the planning board. Why and who are they? Both get like 3,200.
Sure, I can pull it up if you allow me 1 second. I'm sorry, just I have to type.
It's okay, you've done a good job.
Thank you. Okay.
David, I just wanted to say something quick to you as Abraham is looking for your question. I heard that you have been reporting some sidewalks that are tripping hazards. I just wanted to thank you, and I wanted to ask other people who may be listening that this is a great thing to do, especially now. We are gathering the information, and hopefully as soon as this pandemic is over, hopefully soon we can start addressing those issues. So thank you for addressing these sidewalk trip hazards to the building department. I'm sure they're taking taps.
I did observe yesterday, because what can you do? You walk a lot, that the Great Neck Synagogue was doing construction work in its driveway by the curb, but I don't know if that's in the village or in the town. And I couldn't understand what that was about. There was a bobcat there and they were ripping up the, part of the driveway.
Well, there are certain, I mean, I can leave that up to Steve to answer, but there are certain constructions that are, if it's going to be because of hazard, they're allowed.
That might have been repair work.
Yeah,
Right.
Or it might have been something else. I don't know what it was.
No, the driveway was in disrepair. There was
Okay.
a huge pothole there.
All right, well, that's a hazard.
Yeah.
So they're allowed by law. Hazardous areas should be fixed because you don't want anyone to fall.
No, obviously, nobody wants that. It's dangerous.
Back to your question.
Yes.
As you know, the village has an engineer, H2M, architect
Okay,
engineers. They are, so they attend both BZA
correct.
planning.
Okay,
So those amounts are their retainer that they charge to.
okay.
Those there are no additional expenses when they come. Everything is covered under this retainer.
Very well, that makes perfect sense to me because I've often seen it. Now, I had another question about the pilots, but I think you got into that. And I don't know, I don't have the page here, but a decrease from like 135 to 88,000. Does that, I think that reflects the Avalon Bay
Yes.
as right. So that's just part of the schedule that they have.
So
And then
we
I
can-
think I had one more, page 11. Just a minute, please. Yeah, you get into, well, I think you got into it already with the fines and forfeited bail from 480 to 420. So I think you already discussed it. So unless you have anything to add, those were my questions based on what you had posted. And one more thing, as far as Mr. Massaro's idea to spend another 5,000 bucks on trees, June will be the 10th anniversary of the microburst. And we've never recovered from that. So, I mean, it's a drop in the bucket. And I certainly hope that we spend the money on extra trees this year. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Regarding the fines, as I mentioned, there's a $420,000 budgeted. I'm expecting to get at least $370,000 with the regular, and then the difference will be made up with the program to amnesty program that if the board decides to entertain that.
Good. Thanks a lot.
Sure. And always, by the way, David, thank you always for your kind words. You have always kind words to tell me. Thank you.
Any other comments? I don't know if there's, I don't see anybody else on this call.
Mayor,
I'd
it
also like
might
to,
be worthwhile mentioning again that citizens are also free to send in comments by email.
Can I ask a non-budget related question, but that is kind of important? And that is, in the current crisis, and because I have no idea what's going on in terms of tax remittances and what people are sending and what the receiver of taxes is sending, is our village able to meet all of its current obligations to employees and other things in this particular period? Do we have any problems right now?
There are no problems. As
Good.
I mentioned, there is fund balance available. As I mentioned during the budget presentation, my fear is that our collection rate will not be as the same as prior years. However, even if that happened, I believe still that we will be in a good shape.
Thank you.
Mayor, if there are no further comments from the public, and
I don't,
motion
well,
to
I don't
close
see
the
anybody else in
hearing.
the public, but,
Before you close it, I just want to mention something. We have received phone calls that, as you know, New York State as well as the IRS has extended the time to pay for the taxes. We are getting calls from the constituents asking if there is a extension of payment for paying the taxes. Unfortunately, the timeline to pay taxes is not set by the village. It's the New York State law. Unless the governor decide to change the order of when it's received, we have to abide by the law, and it will be due on July 1st, which this year is on a Wednesday. Unless the governor changes the date, that date remains the same. Thank you.
thank you, Abraham.
any comments from the board?
No.
Okay, if I don't hear, are we going to have a?
Excellent presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Abraham. It was great. I know we have more of this meeting in futures. This is not the final. I'm sure there are numbers that may change slightly. I think our next budget hearing will be in, well, 2 weeks. We don't have a meeting in 2 weeks, correct?
April 21st is the next meeting.
Okay, and we're going to have the continuation of the budget hearing and finalizing it at that time possibly, right?
Yes, the board has till May 1st to pass the budget per law.
Okay, so I think we're going to finalize the meeting on the next meeting, which is April 23rd,
First,
April 21st. Okay. If there are no other comments, I would like to make the motion to close the hearing and move to the next, the new business.
Mayor, respectfully, I think the motion is to hold the hearing over until April 21st, where it will be continued.
Right, okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And by roll call vote, all those in favor of holding the public hearing over to April 21st, Trustee Sobel,
Yes, aye.
Trustee Hope,
Aye.
Trustee Mendelson,
Aye.
and the mayor.
Aye.
Therefore, the public hearing is now held over to April 21st. Thank you.
Okay, Abraham, you want to start a new business, vigilant ambulance contract?
yes, Mr. Mayor, there's, let me just put that up, just a moment. The new ambulance contract has been presented to the village for the board's consideration. The amount of it is this year $285,633, payable in 12 installments, due at $23,803 every month at the 10th of each month. This represents, I believe, about 4% different from last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it 4% or 6%?
I have to, I'm sorry, just a moment. It's been, I'm looking at it just now. Again, ambulance. 5%, Mr. Mayor.
5%, okay.
Last year it was 272,000. This year is at 285,000. There's a 5% increase.
Is there an explanation of what this expense is for? Because I know that previously it stayed pretty much the same.
They sent a budget with it. I did not study the budget. However, their increase is year over year is in line with what they have raised in the past few years. There is no exact explanation of why they're charging 5% more. If you would like more explanation of it, I can reach out to them.
What? Go ahead, Annie.
No, I was going to say that would be good. I mean, just to see where the cost increases were.
From what I heard, and again, I can't see it here, is that they're trying to provide more of services such as personnel. I think these are not the EMS, but the paramedics. But you know, if the board wishes, we can hold off until we speak to them and see exactly what the extra 5% is for. They are getting paid at the rate at this time anyway, but you guys would like to do that? We want to wait until we have a discussion and then go ahead with the budget? Steve, or Annie?
I don't, doesn't matter.
I guess it doesn't hurt to ask. We could ask,
Okay.
ask the question.
Okay. This is not really. Okay, I can put a call out and just go over it one more time. Okay, so are we going to just let this? We're going to table this topic, this until the next meeting.
Okay.
I might make the motion.
I mean, you know, I would imagine they're gonna have some increases with, I don't know how this is affecting the ambulance, but I assume it's affecting them as well. But, if it's all the same, we'll table it till next time and find out, you know, what
Okay.
the increase is.
So Bart, you're making the motion?
Yes.
Anyone second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll table it until the next meeting. Abraham, the
Yeah.
Park District wants a banner on Middle Neck Road.
They do want to put that banner up. However, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. This is the letter that they have sent. They want to put it up starting March 23rd, which was last week, and they wanted to keep it up through August. I don't know if we can keep it up for whatever 5 months up, as the other, we get also other requests from other organizations to hang their banners up, but they want it for 5 months. And it's very unfortunate, but I don't know how, if it's what's going on. They will even have this. So
Right. I would probably suggest to not address this or table it until the next, because I would like to see what's going to happen with this pandemic. I mean, to have something up now, I don't think anyone's really calling to sign up the kids for a camp where we don't really know exactly where this is going. I'm hoping that by June, or hopefully even before that, we are over this hump. But to have it now and keep it up for that many months, I think it's a bit too much. I agree with Abraham.
Me too.
okay.
So,
Be tabled.
Yeah, we should table it.
Okay.
so everyone who, I guess, so who made a motion?
I think the board can just take no action.
So take no action at this time?
Right.
Well, you have to table it until.
Yeah, we should take no action. I think the Park District would understand our reasoning in this.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
The next item is a signed request for 621 Middle Neck Road. This is the sign that they want to put up. I don't think if the applicant is present, at least live, maybe they're listening, but this is the sign, the 126 inches by 24 inches. This is their application. It has
Where
been.
is this?
This is by
Tech Prime. It's the old Tech Prime.
But what are they trying to do? What kind of a place is this?
It's car leasing.
Car salesman? Car leasing?
Car leasing, financing and sales.
Interesting.
I don't, but we have not been allowing backlit signs. Is it? Hold on one second.
Is this a backlit? I don't know if this is.
How could you tell it's backlit?
Well, the application indicates it's illuminated.
Oh. I don't know.
But I saw 3 little things on the top part of the photo. Not yeah,
No.
on the lower, not on the big one, but on the one underneath it, where it says the second one, Euromotor House. There are 3 little
Dots?
dots, and I'm wondering, is that for goosenecks, or is it the holders of it? I mean,
It
like
definitely doesn't look like a gooseneck, but it may just be some small LED light that is lighting up the sign. I don't know. If it's an LED light that is lighting up the sign like a gooseneck, I think that's much better. But to have this lit with that much white light coming out, it's a bit too offensive.
I think we need more information.
it might be just holes. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to 621 Middle Neck Road.
So it's across from like Mangiabene.
Yes,
The new
so,
Yes.
I'm not sure if there was holes on the wall or something, but they probably took a picture of it from the, exactly in front of it, and they're just putting it up. I'm not sure what those three dots are.
I don't remember seeing like that wooden kind of finish there either. I don't know. You know, the horizontal slats above it?
No. Let me go back to this. I believe this is it's representing these parts, the like a stone finish, I believe it's called. 620. Actually, it might be this one. Here it is. Here it is. It's
I
this.
don't think we're seeing anything.
It is here, and you could see the 3 dots on top. They're basically photoshopping and putting it over prime, tech prime. And those 3 holes that you see are basically here.
It
Brian,
says
can we-
156 inches long, 24 inches high. What's the depth? Because if there's no depth, then it can't be backlit. Do you have the depth on this?
The depth from the building wall to the sign face is marked first as not applicable, but the sign on the building, I'm sorry, is 6 inches. On the application, depth from building wall to sign face, 6 inches.
Brian, can we reach
Yeah.
out to them tomorrow and find out if this is a backlit sign?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
They wouldn't be allowed to put the sign up anyway for
Exactly.
a little while.
Okay, so that's a good idea. So let's find out, and maybe they can be on
Let's
the
get
next
more
call.
specifics on the sign.
But just let them know to be on the next call. I think it's not a bad idea for them to get on Zoom.
Hello, I don't know why I keep getting muted, but it's getting a little frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing it, Bart.
Yeah, we are still experimenting with this. I hope this is the last time we have to use it, but
You are an optimist.
I'm pretty sure that they just want to reuse the existing Tech Prime sign, which
correct.
is an ugly old backlit sign. They're gonna replace the plastic.
I don't think I would like that. If that's what they're doing, I would say no.
But that's exactly what it looks like. I mean, if
It looks like, you're right. It
Look,
does
it's-
look like the white of the Tech Prime. Maybe that, I don't know, but I agree with you that we should really have newer signs. It's not that much of a, because the old Tech Prime,
I just don't want to see another white another white background backlit sign.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get more information and tell them to come in. Maybe, who's going to speak to them? Steve, you're going to talk to them?
Yeah, I could call them, yes.
Yeah, just let them know that the board is not interested to have this
Backlit sign.
sign that is a backlit white sign the way it is. They would, and I'm sure they're going to say, well, that's the sign that is up there. And that's probably why we used to have this every 2 year, people needed to come back for sign permit, because obviously we can ask them to change the look. We're not twisting anybody's arms, but at the same time, I think if the ownership changes, the sign really needs to be more with the liking of the board and the.
It should be modernized.
Exactly.
They made beautiful storefronts out of those places. They should really put a little bit more effort into the, and Signorama should know this by now. I
Yep.
mean, they
Okay.
get all these applications.
So, Steve, if you can just let them know, and then hopefully next meeting they can come up with a much nicer.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll let them know tomorrow.
Okay.
So the board wishes to take no action tonight.
Correct.
That's right.
The next item is a village polling place. Peter, would you like to talk about the executive order of the governor regarding March, or would you like me to explain it?
Certainly, although for some reason I seem to have lost my view. Hopefully people can see and hear me. But the governor's orders have thus far, there we go. Okay, the governor's orders have thus far not adjourned the June elections for villages around the state, but they have adjourned the petition gathering process. So it leaves everybody in the unusual position of a scheduled election for which there is no procedure to nominate candidates. That tells me that inevitably the governor will either have to reinstitute the nominating process and allow signatures to be gathered by petition, an outcome which would be wonderful to see because it would mean that the pandemic has essentially gone away and people can once again knock on doors and collect signatures in person. Or alternatively, he will issue a gubernatorial order adjourning the village elections from June. He has not done either to date. So based on that, I indicated to Abraham that I would recommend to the board that you set the polling places as if the June election is going to take place. At worst, you'll simply have to pass another resolution down the road, resetting the polling places for whatever actual election date is eventually chosen. But that's the legal inconsistency and contradiction in which we find ourselves at the moment.
So there is no petition due
Clear?
date as of yet for June elections.
Correct. There's not there is in fact a deferment of the entire petition gathering, signature gathering process.
Right.
The issue with that is that if there's, I mean, how would you know who to put on the ballot?
But you don't put
That's
anybody on the ballot.
exactly the point.
Okay.
The same thing can happen that happened in the plaza. I mean, I think most likely they're going to push off the election. Unless
They have the opportunity to collect signatures, though. That's the difference.
well,
So-
they collected signatures, but I'm not sure. Again, I don't know how it's going to happen. Peter, you should know. Are they going to honor those signatures that were collected?
We don't know. In my opinion, they likely will, but we do not know the answer to that yet. It is possible that they will reset the signature gathering process because, for example, some people in the interim may have moved away, may have died, all kinds of things could have happened. But I think it more likely, based on my experiences, that they will permit those signatures to be utilized. Now, there are other elections that have, what the governor's orders provided is where the election is adjourned past the term of office of the sitting elected officials. Those elected officials have remained as holdovers until the actual election is eventually held.
That doesn't apply to us.
Well, if the June elections are adjourned, we don't know what's going to happen with them yet.
No, but even if they are, because there are no terms.
Right.
You mentioned if the term.
You have no.
If the limit has
Yes,
passed.
only if the term is expired.
Right. Okay. But I mean, it's sort of funny to. We can definitely vote on the polling place. I think we don't.
Not necessary though. Is the
It
timing
will
such that we?
likely. Yeah, it will likely prove unnecessary in my view, but at the moment, the current state of the gubernatorial orders is the election is still set for June.
Okay, so shall we set Village Hall as the election place, as the polling place?
I think that's an acceptable place. The question is, if we vote today, not knowing when the election is going to occur, or if it is going to occur, would we be able to pass the deadline to change the location at least to the next meeting?
Well, do you think we're really going to
I
change?
think that I think the safer course of action is to set the polling place now and change it if it becomes necessary, rather than not set any polling.
No, I agree that we need to set a place. My question is, the deadline to set the place is which date?
it's coming up soon, but I don't have that date in front of me.
Okay.
Abraham, do you recall that date?
You're muted, Abraham. I did not hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. The reason that it's on the agenda in March is because the next meeting, it will be too late.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you want to set it to be the Village Hall?
Sure.
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Abraham?
I believe that's where we're going to have it.
Okay.
Okay.
So we need a motion?
I'll move it.
I
Second.
second. Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Steve, I didn't hear you. In favor?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
I believe sorry. All right. The next item on the agenda is the ratification of the abstract for the checks that was mailed out on March 20th. It was reviewed by Trustee Mendelson.
So this is the one that I brought in today, or the one that was done last time around?
Last time.
Last time, okay. So I make a motion to accept the abstract from the last meeting that was missed.
Second.
All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the abstract that's due this Friday, and it was reviewed by Trustee Mendelson as well. It was actually dropped off right before the meeting, which I thank you for saving me a trip out of the Village Hall.
Well, thanks for bringing it over to me. So I guess there was there one question? Oh, Louis, a curb box. What's a curb box?
Hold on. Let me see if Louis.
Yeah,
unmute.
Louis on the phone.
Okay.
A curb box is an inlet for the storm drain.
Oh, okay.
That was from
Okay, so-
Potante.
What was
Potante?
that?
It was from
Yes.
Potante, right?
Okay, yes, that was it. And I think the only other question I had was, I made a note of it to Nancy regarding an upcoming meeting for which a check is needed, but the meeting may not take place. So in that case, just have her make a phone call. And I left a note on the abstract. So in view of those items, I make a motion to accept the abstract.
Your
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you. In light of what was going on in the past couple weeks, as well as the preparation of the budget, unfortunately, I did not get the chance to review the minutes. So regretfully, we have to postpone it to next time. It's not up to be voted on. And
Okay.
no,
Abraham, may I ask a question?
sure.
With my budget, I submitted some equipment stuff and a list of stuff on employee matters. I was wondering when the board, or if the board had gotten a copy of it and when they would be available, maybe the mayor and deputy mayor, to at least discuss that.
The list was not given to them because I would like to give it to them in person. There has been, because again, in light of what's going on, and I have observed the mayor personally for the past couple weeks, how busy he is, and constantly he is in contact with other villagers as well as with the constituents. He did not have the time to have the budget meeting prior to tonight. The mayor mentioned that he would like to have the presentation again, as well as the budget talks on the April 21st. So this will be given to them at that point again, and it's up to the board to invite whoever they want to this meeting.
Well, I just want to make it clear to the board that I had written up a proposal for different employees, not just my employees. And it is something that I would like to discuss with them and get this salary structure back in place.
Right, so on that, I just want to say maybe we can have, I mean, hopefully by then we can have a in-person meeting. If not, I know I'm definitely not used to having these kind of Zoom meetings without having everybody in the same screen. But I think if you're not able to meet in person, maybe a week or so before, we can have a quick meeting just to get the presentation.
Yeah, I would definitely like to discuss it with everybody. I did take quite a bit of time to write some narratives down of my observations of things. And I would like the opportunity to speak it out to each one of the board members.
Okay. Any of the board members have any comments to make?
No, I'll be available.
Yeah, I'm sure I can make myself available. Public comments?
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to unmute everybody. Okay. Any public comments?
All right, hearing none. I just wanted to again thank you all really for doing such a wonderful job. The people on the DPW with really going on with what's with the situation, the current situation. Also the people that are working in the village hall. I know it's not easy. It is sometimes scary. I know that people work from home, people go back and forth to work. I hope and pray that this will come to an end soon. Just wanted to thank people at the village, if they here, for the vigilance in keeping distance from each other. I know it's difficult to stay home, and many of us have to do homeschooling. I know that's extremely difficult, and with the holidays coming up, it's even making it more difficult. But all that, I think it's extremely important. I'm extremely pleased by what our village and the surrounding villages have done as far as the people staying home. I know there are some people that still are not heeding the advice of everybody, and they still may gather. I encourage them again for the well-being of everybody. The people in our village and the surrounding villages to really please stay home. Make sure if you're going shopping to wear the mask. Do not touch your face, do not touch your nose, do not touch your eyes or mouth, and use hand sanitizers and wash your hand as often as possible. Again, I want to say, even though many of the people are asymptomatic, they can still be infecting other people. Kids especially, they do very well, even though there have been some kids that are getting extremely sick. Kids do very well with this virus, but unfortunately they can be extremely dangerous to their parents and grandparents. So again, I encourage you not to visit your grandparents. Stay home for the holidays with your nuclear family. Let this whole pandemic pass. I'm hoping that next year we can celebrate with our families, but this is extremely important. And I again encourage, I plead, and I ask everyone to stay home. Again, do the proper hygiene. And just for Louis' crew, I want to thank them for picking up all this gloves and masks that are on the floor. And I again ask people that are throwing them on the floor, there are garbage bins all over, and try to be considerate to the people that live in the village. Thank the board and everyone who's working in the village, and hope to see you guys in person in very near future.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said, we're ready to adjourn the meeting.
I move to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abraham, thank you very much for a great presentation.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you. Thank you.
Abraham,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Brian, thank you for setting it up.
Yep.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank you, Nathaniel.
You're welcome.
Good night,
Thank
Nathaniel.
you.
Be well,
Good night
Nathaniel.
and stay healthy.
And happy
And,
holidays to everybody.
Yeah, yesterday was
Yes, sir.
Thank a Doctor Day. I was remiss in not thanking you, Mayor. So,
Thank you.
and Annie, tell Robert I say thank you too to him and to everybody who's part of this. It's I think you're all going through hell, and it's really appreciated.
Thank you.
All the extra work and what you're doing. So that's it. All right. Good night, everybody. Stay
Good
healthy.
night. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you,
holidays.
everybody. Stay
Thank
safe.
you, Brian.
Good night.
Thank you, Steve. Bye-bye.
Stay well.
Good night.
Stay well.